In this video, I'll be describing the modules included in the Hostile Intent expansion for the Resistance. If you haven't seen my previous video on the Resistance, or if you do not know the rules for the Resistance already, please check it out. Going forward in this video, I'll be assuming prior knowledge and understanding of the rules of the Resistance. This expansion adds 3 modules to the game. The Hunter module, which is by far the most complex and the largest of the added expansions that have been brought in through this Kickstarter project. Also the Reverser module and the Inquisitor module, which is similar to the Lady of the Lake module from the previous, from Avalon. Alright, I'll begin by diving in the deep end and describing the Hunter module. The Hunter module adds an additional requirement for victory to the end of the game. Once either side has reached their victory condition, they've gotten 3 successful missions or 3 failed missions, there will be 1 player on each team who then has to identify a chief on the opposing team in order to secure the victory. Setup for this module is similar to the normal game, except that certain character cards will be shuffled in place of basic resistance or spies. Also, there'll be an additional deck next to the main board. If you're playing with 5 or 6 players, you'll need these 2 cards, Chief and Not a Chief. If you're playing with more than 6 players, then you will form a deck of 3 cards, which is Spy, Chief, Resistance Chief, and Not a Chief. These will then get shuffled, or they'll get placed next to the main board. You will also need the Investigator marker, which will also get placed next to the main board. The first time you play with this module, and you would play with the most basic version, which is basically a Hunter and a Chief on each side, so a Resistance Hunter and Chief and a Spy Hunter and Chief, and these would get substituted in for obviously 2 spies and 2 resistance members. Shuffled into the deck and then dealt out as normal. For games with 8 or more players, you then also include an additional resistance chief into the mix, and for games of 10 players, you include a second spy chief in the game as well. Once the cards have been dealt out, there's then a different script that you'll need to read out during setup, and it goes as follows. Everyone close your eyes and extend your hand in a fist in front of you. Spy Chief, or Chiefs, extend your thumb. Spies, open your eyes and look around to see your fellow spies and your chief. Everyone close your eyes and put your thumbs down. All players should have their eyes closed and hands in a fist in front of them. Everyone open your eyes. And then if you're playing with 8 or more players, you also add an additional step so that the resistance chiefs know who each other are. So, after you've read out the previous script, Resistance Chiefs, open your eyes. You should see the other chief. Resistance Chiefs, close your eyes. During the team building phase, in addition to assigning members of the team to go on the mission, the leader will also assign an investigator token to a player who is not on the mission, other than themselves. If the mission is approved, and then the mission goes ahead and fails, then the person with this token will take on the role of the investigator for that mission. If it is successful, then the leader will take on the role of the investigator. Now this is where the rules for this module become even more divergent depending upon the number of players. So if you're playing with 7 players or more, once a team is approved and ready to go ahead, the leader will pass out 3 mission cards to each player. So they'll hand out a success, a fail, and each player will also receive a chief fail. Now the chief on the mission, so the chief spy, is only permitted to play a success or a chief fail. They are not permitted to play a normal fail. The resistance chief can obviously still only play a success. The mission fails as normal if 1 or more fail cards are played, and a chief fail card counts as a fail as well. So if a single chief fail and all successes are played, then the mission will fail. Now, any time a mission fails and a chief fail card has been played, the Spy Hunter, whichever character has been dealt the Spy Hunter card, may end the game early by revealing themselves and accusing a certain player of being the Resistance Chief. If they can successfully accuse the Resistance Chief, then they will win the game for the spies. The Spy Hunter, however, can only end the game early if the Spy Chief has played a Chief Fail and failed a mission. In a 5 or 6 player game, the Chief Fail cards are not used. However, if the Chief Spy is on a mission and plays a fail card, then the Spy Hunter can accuse a player of being the resistance chief and end the game early. Of course, the spy hunter will know who the spy chief is anyway, because he would have seen him at the start of the game, and so we'll know if he was the one who played the fail card on the mission. If during one of these accusations, however, so the spy hunter will have to reveal themselves in order to make the accusation. So they'll flip their card over and say, I am the spy hunter, and then accuse another player of being the resistance chief. If they are accurate and they do name this resistance chief, then the spies will win the game early. If they are, however, wrong in their accusation, then the result of the current mission changes and becomes a success. So the token on the main board will get flipped over, will change back to a success, and the play will... This means that everybody around the table will now know one of the spies and know that they are one of the players is the spy hunter. This accusation to end the game early can only happen once per game, so the spy hunter needs to pick their moment when to use that power, if they want to use it. As I said earlier, if the mission is a success, the leader will then get to investigate any player that was on the mission. If the mission is a failure, then the person with the investigator token will be the one who conducts the investigation. The player under investigation will be handed their loyalty card, so either they will receive a not a chief and chief card, or if they're playing in a large game, they will receive the resistance chief, the spy chief, and the not a chief card, and they will be handed these cards. If the player handed the cards is the resistance chief, then they must either show the chief card if they're playing in a smaller number of player game, or they must show the resistance chief card to the investigator. If the spy chief is handed the cards, then again they must play the chief or the spy chief cards. All other players will show the not a chief card to the investigator. Again, like everything else in the game, the information gained by the investigator may be discussed, but no cards may be revealed. Immediately after the third mission is successful, so when the resistance has successfully completed 3 missions, the resistance hunter will reveal themselves to the table. So they will flip over their card and show that they are the resistance hunter. The resistance hunter must then accuse another player of being the spy chief. Whoever is accused must then answer truthfully, whether they are or not. If the accused is the spy chief, then the resistance then immediately wins the game. If the accused is not the spy chief, then, as earlier, the result of the last mission is reversed. So the token will be flipped back over, thus resulting in a successful mission for the spies, and the game will continue. If this does not result in the spies having their third successful or their third failed mission, then the investigation phase, as described earlier, would then happen. If, however, it means that the spies have now failed 3 missions successfully, then we move on to the spy hunter. The spy hunter will then reveal themselves, and they must identify the resistance chief from amongst the remaining players. If they successfully accuse the resistance chief, then the spies immediately win the game. Otherwise, the token flips back over again, and then the resistance hunter will have another try at guessing who the chief spy is. If the spies fail 3 missions before the resistance complete 3 missions successfully, then the spy hunter will have a go. The spy hunter will reveal themselves and get to accuse a player of being the resistance chief. If they're accurate in their accusation, then the spies will win. Otherwise, the token will get flipped over, and provided it's not the 5th mission, the game will continue. There'll be an investigation phase, and then we'll move on to the next round. There are also additional character cards that can be added in to add additional variation to this variant. So you may also play with the dummy agent. The dummy agent, if investigated, shows that they are a chief, even though they're not. The resistance coordinator will be known by the chief at the beginning of the game. However, if this player is accused of being the chief by the spy hunter, then the spies will also win the game, as if they had correctly identified the chief. The spy deep agent does not know the other spies, however the other spies will know who the deep agent is. And you may also play with the pretender, which appears as a deep agent to the other spies. So if you're playing with a deep agent and the deep agent sticks up their thumb to show the other spies who they are, they will see 2 thumbs. One will be the pretender and one will be the deep agent. If using all of these modules together, the script becomes quite long and quite confusing. Please look in the rulebook and online for this one. I'm not going to try and read it out now because it'll take about 45 minutes, not really. But yeah, so that is the Hunter module. There is a few variations also included, extra variations included in the rulebook. It does really quite dramatically change the way the game feels and is played. I've only played it once, and I didn't really have the best group for it, so I'm not really ready to pass judgment on it yet, but definitely a very interesting addition to the game, and it definitely changes the feel of the game quite a lot. Next up is the Reverser module, and it adds 1 or 2 characters to the game who have the ability to completely change the outcome of each mission that they're on. So to begin, the one or more of these 2 character cards are shuffled in replacement of normal resistance and spy cards from the basic setup, and there will be an additional pile of reverse cards set next to the central tableau. During the mission phase, when the leader would normally hand out a success and fail card to each player, they also hand out a reverse card to each player. If the reverser is on the mission, one of these 2 cards, and they receive their 3 cards, they may, if they wish, play a reverse card. A reverse card may only be played by a reverser. The reverse card completely reverses the outcome of the mission. So, if for example, in a 7-player game, and in the first mission, one of the cards is a reverser and the other card that played is a fail, then the mission will instead succeed. For example, in this mission, 2 fails required. So there'd be 4 people on the mission. If there were 2 successes and a fail and a reverse played, then the mission would, instead of being successful, would then fail. If instead there was a single success, 2 fails and a reverse played on this mission, the mission would, instead of failing, then succeed. It is also possible that both reversers will be on the same mission and they will both play reverse cards. In this case, the outcome of the mission is reversed and then reversed back. An additional wrinkle to this version of the game is that the spy reverser may not actually play a fail card. They may only play a success or a reverse card. And the resistance reverser can also, again, still only play a success, but they can play a success or a reverse. The rules don't explicitly state what happens if there is 2 members on the team and they both play reverse cards. I would like to think that in that particular instance the universe would probably end. I haven't had a chance to play with this module myself yet, but I think it's quite interesting. I think it would be it would add again, just another thing to add more confusion into the game. The final module in this expansion is the Inquisitor module, and it uses this snazzy cardboard token with the lady from Coup. And in this particular module, the player who is dealt this token will be given an additional ability whereby they can discover the allegiance of the player who they decide to inquisit. So during setup, this token will be given to the player who's sitting on the leader's right-hand side. After the 2nd, 3rd and 4th missions are resolved, the player who is currently holding the Inquisitor token will choose 1 player, and they are allowed to examine that player. Now, the rules say that unless you're using special characters, you just use the character cards. I like to use these cards all the time. It just makes it a bit easier in my brain for me to comprehend it. So when they choose to examine someone, they nominate a person, they hand that person these 2 cards, and the player will then select one of them and hand it back to the Inquisitor. If the player is a member of the spy team, they must select this card and hand it back to the Inquisitor. If they are a member of the Resistance, they must hand the Resistance card back to the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor will then look at the card, they will then know the allegiance of the player who they inquisited, and then they will hand the Inquisitor token to the player that they just inquisited. As usual, they're not allowed to reveal any cards, but they are allowed to discuss what they've found with the other players at the table. This module is not recommended to be used in games with fewer than 7 players, as again it just gives too much information around the table and it can blow the game wide open. Now, I have played with this module before when it was the Lady of the Lake module in Avalon. I really like this one as well, and again it's very good to use in a larger group. And that's the Resistance Hostile Intent, a fantastic module overall. The Hunter module really does shake the game up, changes it a lot, and I quite enjoy that. The other modules, they're pretty good as well. If you haven't already, please do check out my other videos where I talk about the Hidden Agenda expansion and also the promotional modules that were included in this Kickstarter edition. My name's Tinny, thank you once again for watching Tortuga.